Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in here on Landy's Crypto Corner, powered by the Goxstein News Network. Today is July 9th, 2025, and we do have a new all-time high for Bitcoin. So while we celebrate, we should also know what could happen if it fails to get continuation on closes above $112,000. And thus far, we have not seen a close above $112,000, although we did see a slight higher high swing of the prior all-time high up here. And of course, the all-time high being $112,000. From back here on the 22nd of May, we now have a high of 112,150,291. Now, this is actually looking pretty good for the bulls right now, but we do need to understand where invalidation lies, and that's going to be if we see the last higher low consolidation now dropped at 107,260 to 270. That is also where the daily basis band is coming in. So that is the 20 simple moving average down here, and that's it's going to be very important to keep an eye on. So, if Bitcoin does fail to get continuation, just pay attention to that area. Realistically, it's anywhere below the basis band. More likely going to see the next low get run somewhere around the 106 900 to 106 to 105 900 close open, and of course this last higher low down here at or the higher low prior, I should say, at 105 120, which is coming in line right around our lower first standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands here. And we all know what happens below there, 104 to 101 on closes. That brings us back down actually below, if we did see price drop below 101. Of course, that would be below the lower second standard deviation, which is right now at 102.5. But of course, that's where we'd be looking for expansion into the low side structure here, possibly another run down to 98 to 95 at the top side. We have the point of control for volume, which is slowly moving up, about 96.5 now, but the support and resistance area we have on the chart is going to be relevant for that when we take a look at it anyway. And of course, that endangers the last move off of the prior weekly higher low. Now, for continuation targets to the upside, so I talked about the downside. We do need to know about it. If we do start to see closes above the upper second standard deviation, of course, above $112,000, even if we don't see closes above the upper second standard deviation, I'm looking for closes to occur around 112 to that upper third, somewhere around 115. Now, the upper third standard deviation currently is just below $115,000, but if we do see Bitcoin push back up above 112, this will expand. And of course, if it does get above $115,000, I'd be looking initially at swings to 117, 118. But if we start to see closes above $115,000, then that will bring about some further targets to the upside around 118 to 120. And of course, that's going to be where we get our weekly involved here. As we can see, the weekly upper second standard deviation is currently at 118, but if we start seeing price move towards this area intra-week, or while this weekly candle's open, this will be somewhere around 120. Then, of course, anywhere above there, more macro targets, looking at 128 to 130, which is somewhere around that upper third standard deviation on the weekly. Now, we're getting early signs that, are positive for Bitcoin, but we still have a pretty long week to go. And in terms of what we talked about on Monday, is we have the trend reversal closing structure in place. This is a higher low and a close. We have a complex high up here that was set, at this point, 2.5 weeks ago over here, back in mid-June, right? And that's what set the closing trend breaking high. And of course, we did have a little bit of a weekly swing downtrend. Wasn't too concerned about that, of course, until unless we started seeing this low retested at the 98 to 225. We essentially got our daily targets hit. I had mentioned prior to this in a couple of videos when Bitcoin traded back up to the highs, is hey, if we drop around 101, look towards the lows, 107, 100,300. Anywhere we start swinging down there, 98 to 95 is the key area. Well known by many analysts. We're all looking at the same criteria. We got basically 98 hit, right? And after the close, a week and a half ago now, We were looking for last week's candle closure, which would put Bitcoin in a position to be in a trend reversal setup on a closing basis above 109. We got that. We're seeing some early continuation this week, right? It's only Wednesday. The Thursday session, of course, is open, but we want to see closes that can start to get above the closing all-time high structure, the 109,360 we're currently trading above. That would look good. Then, of course, start to pass the actual last higher high swing at 112 to really solidify that on a closing basis. And then we need to see, close over close price momentum begin to increase and start pushing these bands to the upside. You don't want to see just one candle get above there and then we come up here, wick out, and then close right back in. Although there's different setups that I can explain if that were to happen. And it's just kind of theoretical at this moment. We want to see close over close price momentum beginning to rise on the weekly towards that upper second, potentially even getting above it, kicking off deeper targets towards that 128 to 120. 128 to 130 area, and on the more macro time frames, and then start to push on to maybe some potentially deeper targets for macro time frames. Now for daily. I know that many of you who watch my content regularly are very familiar with this, with the support and resistance zones of interest, but I'm going to bring them up again anyway, just to remind those that do watch content and for those that might be new here. So when looking at kind of the band structure setup with horizontal support and resistance, now you'll notice that it's all based on this structure over here, the original structure that put in the higher highs, define the low side structure, and then of course the closing structure here where we got that closing daily double top. Now of course we had higher highs, 1084, 109,360, but it was basically a 106 close. It was essentially here it's 106, 136. Right now, Bitcoin could come back down and play in this area, but if we see it break structure, like I just mentioned, below 107, 250 to 270 or something like that, depending on your chart here, essentially back below this consolidation low, that's that's going to paint a picture that it's probably going to have to test down a little bit further towards 106, possibly even this higher low structure down by the lower first. If it drops anywhere below there, we're starting to look at, the potential for things to start expanding into the wider support down here, although aggressive expansion wouldn't even really kick off until we saw closes below the lower second, and that'd be an expansion into the lows. And, Bitcoin's got room if it wanted to go and do that. It's got room to do it in a healthy way. Of course, it would be breaking trending structure, and we do want to see continuation. We don't really want to see this higher low closing structure because this is the weekly higher low now. Right, and then the close open for the weekly, the newest higher low on a close open is going to be that 105.9, just right below the support there. It's essentially, 105.9. That's the previous swing of 106. It's 105.9, 106. It was within the margin of error on the local support up here. My bad. The close open higher low down here is now going to basically be 101. It's 100,996. It's essentially 101. It's basically confluent with our level here at 101, 188 or 101, 175 or whatever that is, that 101 level that we've had marked forever, which is a big daily level of interest. Now, that's why I say that it's pretty important, I think, that the bulls start to get above 112 and start kicking off expansion, give themselves more room away from this weekly level and confirm the higher low setup to higher high setup, which would be a trend reversal confirmation. By the way, when I say trend reversal confirmation, I'm talking about it in technical terms. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be successful in confirming a full-on new uptrend, but it would be a new trend confirmation in terms of higher high, higher low, trend reversal setup, trend reversal confirmation. Then you're looking for higher highs, higher lows at minimum from there as the most likely outcome. That doesn't mean it's always going to be the result, but that's the most likely outcome. And it looks good. It looks in position. I don't have too much to say other than that. Could we get some craziness where we see like a weekly basis band retest? Sure, but that'd be a break of structure. Likely, if we were to see something like that, a more long form accumulation before making a decision on, testing further down, and maybe even a breakdown. But that's not what we're seeing right now. We're seeing that Bitcoin is showing strength. It's in position with higher highs and higher lows on closes. But we do need to see confirmation on the weekly. Daily's not going to do it until I see closes above 112. I'm just as happy as everybody else about a new higher high and a big old green candle on the daily. That's great. But I need to see conviction on closes above the 112 region for the daily, and then see that get followed through into the weekly. That would look really good for the bulls. That is pretty much a prime setup to at least test further up, even if there were some, maybe some daily down days or daily red days. I do want to see the bulls kind of get away from this higher low, and to really start getting that kicked off. So I kind of want to see continuation here on the Thursday into Friday session. We'll see how that goes. We'll all observe it together. I did want to check on one more thing here. Yeah, there's nothing. We avoided any kind of bearish divergence on the daily here for this new trending structure where we have, the higher high close, lower high, higher high close, lower high swing to higher low to higher high, higher low, higher high. We have a full trend. So the cracks in that trend are really, they would be forming below 107, 250 to 270, depending on your chart here. For spot, again, that's going to be on the higher end there at 107, 270. Need to see closes maintained above there. And then it's sideways and up. And I know that there is historical bearish divergence. Somebody pinged me on it again after the Monday video. But it's not as relevant as in trend bearish divergence. And right now, in this current trend, we don't have any bearish divergence, even if we were to put in a high here right up against the bullish control zone. A few more pieces to look at here. Bullish control zone is 111, 186. So basically 111, 200 back, it would put it back in the bullish control zone. I was curious about where the bull critical zone is, which is going to be right around the 80 read. That's going to be 125.5. Where is our midline? So our scale midline is going to be 107, 300. So again, that's going to be if price goes back and retests the last higher low on a swing basis, essentially, for the scale midline, which is a 50 read. Bearish control zone is going to be right around 101. Go figure. It's basically right at the bottom side of the support here. So seeing a lot of confluences there. Momentum picking back up to the upside. Need to see a close above 110, 800 essentially for the daily. That would keep momentum pointed back to the upside. Obviously, if we get, a close here or higher, that would shift momentum. But momentum is always a lagging indicator. Of course, that is a close over close momentum indicator, not which is a stochastic momentum indicator down here. It is not a Stoch RSI, which is velocity of RSI. We just looked at RSI. We don't need to see it in a momentum indicator down on the bottom side there. I prefer to use a close over close price momentum indicator like a regular Stoch that is tuned to a 6.3. Was it? I think it's like 6.3, 255. Look back, yeah, 6.3. I believe these are going to be 6.3s. Yeah, 6.3, 14. This is going to look goofy to anybody, but it's basically a 6.3, 14, 255 look back period. Either way, yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I'll check in with you on Friday, obviously with the Friday wrap up, and I hope that everybody's had a good week thus far. And you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all that being said, Landy out. See you on Friday.